We need it. Oxygen. It's why we
Hey everyone, welcome back to the formerly known as Like a Boss podcast. And now we are here in season 3 of The Grit Files Startup Stories. And with me today, we've got Britt Woyma. You're thinking, does that name sound familiar? Maybe not yet anyway, but her app is certainly going to. Where to Buy. As a co-founder of it, she's really shaking things up. How? You're thinking, oh my goodness, another shopping app? No. This one's different because it helps those small businesses like you and I who are out there and trying to hustle and get noticed without having to pay a freaking fortune to do so. And there's lots of cool stuff. I mean, you want accuracy, right? You're keeping up with the information, the inventory, things are changing. This is what they get into. So I'm really excited to welcome Britt to the show. Hey, Britt.
Hi, Loralyn. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, I always kind of get into it. Obviously, I research my guests and all that, but I'm not going to do it the same level of justice that you can. Tell us about Where to Buy.
Yeah, so Where to Buy is a store locator application, actually. It's a software that brands, primarily food and beverage brands, will put on their website to help their consumers understand where they can find their products on shelf. So I think we've all probably used this before. We've been at a friend's house, or maybe we're trying a new diet and we need to know where to find, all the vegan products or whatever we're tapping into that any given month. So you go to the website, you type in your zip code, and it'll give you a slew of locations that your product's available at. So that's the software we're creating. But what's so different than the softwares that are out there right now is the way we're capturing our data. We have been able to tap into a resource data assembly who taps into the modern way of grocery shopping. So looking at grocers' websites, Instacarts, places online where these products are already being listed as available. And we pull all of that together. So we're not licensing it and making brands have to spend, tens of thousands of dollars, especially these emerging brands, which is so important for them to be able to let consumers know where they can buy their products. So that's Where to Buy in a nutshell. That's what we're providing to brands out there, making it easier for them to let consumers know where to find their product. And then, of course, making it easy for consumers to say like, oh yeah, that's at the Whole Foods down the street for me. Perfect. I'm going to go right there.
And that's what I love because it really helps those smaller businesses. And as a small business owner myself, it's so important. Anything that we can do to shine the light on each other and raise that profile up, it doesn't just help one person, it helps a whole community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what was one of the things that excited me when my co-founder brought me in, actually. This exists out there, and like we know that the big Nestle's of the world and whatnot can handle this, but there's a lot of people who can't, but their products are the products that we like want to invest in and like want to be a part of. So being able to help brands of all sizes, like you said, especially those emerging brands, we've been signing on so many cool products that are just like really starting to grow and get out there. And I just like love talking to them. And then I love going to the store and being like, oh my gosh, now I have to buy that product because, I know them and they're so cool. So it's been really fun getting to meet all of these people and hear their startup stories. So I've been really enjoying it so far.
Very good. Now, you're a branding expert. So you've kind of, stepped into something new here as this whole like tech adventure has begun. Can you tell us what you've learned about yourself in this journey so far?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a branding expert. I have an advertising background. So my whole career, the last, 15 plus years I've spent on the agency side, helping CPG brand, lots of different types of brands, everyone from Adidas to Carter's to Nestle. So helping lots of different brands get their message out there, right? So jumping into this world has been pretty new to me. Like I know about CPG brands, but I'm not necessarily on the messaging side of things. I'm no longer out there saying like, how can we tell our story in a really wonderful way? So it's been new because it's really like table stakes for these brands to be a part of this. So it's something that not many people think about. And maybe it doesn't sound as sexy coming across at first, as like your big ad campaign that you have coming out. But you need it because if people could know about your brand, but they don't know where to find the product, like it's kind of pointless. So it's been really interesting because I was nervous at first jumping into this because I was like, I don't know, like I've never started software, like I don't know what I'm doing. But what I've actually started to learn and uncover is there's so many skills you pick up along the way: organization, communication, planning, like roadmaps, like what's your long-term vision? How do we get there in the short term? So being able to take those skills that you just naturally pick up over X number of years working and being able to kind of transition those over into a new area has been exciting. And that's kind of what I bring to the table with my co-founder. He's kind of more of the idea guy, right? Like he's got the product background and the tech background. And I've been able to kind of help him say, how are we going to package this up though? How are we going to bring it to market? How are we going to build this out in a way that makes sense? You know, how are we going to take all of these wonderful ideas that we just like spitball all day long and turn them into something real? So being able to just like bring those skills, it's given me some confidence and like, oh, okay, I can do this. You know, I'm maybe not surrounded by a team of 15 people anymore. But I'm still making it happen. So that's been kind of a little bit of a self-validation, I guess.
Well, that's always good, right? It does take an army to drive change, but it starts with one. Everything starts with one.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I have a long way to go.
Oh, we all do. Don't worry. That's understood. That's what this whole show's about. So, on the opposite spectrum of that whole self-confidence and things, tell us, what's your kryptonite?
Oh man, I think I think actually the lack of being able to create a formalized plan and having to be very fluid. I'm very, we're all used to having to be fluid. I think in our careers, especially in my background, things are constantly changing when you're in a client-based background or a client-based industry. But I really like things to be organized and in order, and I want to hit deadlines and I want to get X done before we get Y done. And what I've started to learn is I got to let some of that go. Sometimes Y is going to come before X, and we just have to go with it and make it happen and figure out the best way to do that. So that's been my biggest learning curve that I'm trying to just say, as my business partner says, sometimes you have to run when you feel like you should walk. And sometimes you have to walk when you feel like you should run. And I've just been really taking that to heart and saying, you're right. And sometimes I'll say, we need to start walking. And sometimes I'll say, let's start running.
And that's just it, right? Like you said, we all get so focused on trying to be linear, like, oh, okay, so we do X and then we do Y and then Z or Z, depending what part of the world you're from. But then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, bees on fire. Right?
Yeah,
Change everything.
absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Got to be fluid.
If we look back into your past, into whatever you're comfortable sharing, right? We don't want any secrets, but this is the grit file. So you can, feel free to get as gritty as you want. I'm going to give you an undo button. What do you undo? You got to change one thing in your life. One.
Oh man. Only one.
Only one.
I wish if I focus this more on, the career aspect of things, I wish I bounced around more in my career, and I wish I experienced different places more. I tend to stick at places and kind of stay in for the long haul. But looking back on it, I wish I said, you know what? I think my time here is done. I think it's time to try something new, because every time I've tried something new, you just suddenly learn like new ways of doing things. It just opens new doors to kind of give new perspectives, both good and bad, like, oh my gosh, this is a wonderful new way of doing things. Or you're kind of like, oh gosh, actually the way we were doing things before, made more sense. So I would jump around more. And for younger people starting out, there's that fine line. You don't want to jump around too much, but if your gut's telling you to try something new, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Why stick around, right? You just end up being miserable and making the people around you miserable, and no one wants that in a work culture, right? Move on.
Yeah, and life goes fast. Next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, how have I been working for 20 years?
Yeah, I've had those moments. If we look back too, and like I really like this, just even in the journey so when did you start Where to Buy? How long have you guys been in the market here?
So we've been officially in the market for about a year and a half. Really, I would say ramping up over the last 8 months or so. So we're new to the market for sure. We spent a good 6 months before the product was actually built. So the product took about a year to get going and build. And then once the product was ready, we probably spent 3 or 4 months just kind of giving it away to people who were open to trying it, just to make sure that it worked and people felt comfortable with it. And then from there, we've just been able to kind of get our model down from a pricing perspective and how it's going to work. And I would say probably the last 8 months, we've really ramped up. And I've been on board for about a year now. I've been on board working with Brian. So coming in as his co-founder and the managing partner. And I think we've probably grown from about 10 clients to 60. So things are starting to go well. And we're really excited about what's in front of us.
That's cool. Now, what has thrown you for a loop in all of this? Like something you just totally didn't expect. You've come in, as you said, you've got this advertising background.
Mhm.
You've been kind of steady state, staying with some agencies for, for years at a time. And then now you're in startup land. What threw you for the biggest loop?
Oh, there's been a lot of loops, I feel like. The biggest one, first of all, was just changing the way that I work. It's me and my business partner and a handful of other people who are helping us out. And that means that I'm responsible for my own schedule. And, that means I'm responsible for my own productivity. And, while it sounds so easy when you say it out loud, when you're so used to coming from a background that's back-to-back meetings and client deliverables and it's been a lot on me. And it took me a while to settle into that. But the flip side to that's been so great is I actually feel like I'm more productive. I'm getting more stuff done, but I'm feeling like I have more work-life balance because it's what I put in is what is helping build my business. So there's a different sense of ownership around it. That's been really nice. But settling back into this world, and I've got 3 little kids at home, and so coming back to work and jumping into this startup life and trying to make my own schedules but keep that work-life balance and not let it get in the way has been a bit of a challenge. So that's just more of the personal aspect of it. From the working aspect, I think learning, frankly, how to run a business from the back end, understanding how to balance our checkbook, what's going out versus what's coming in, what are our long-term plans. You hear so often oh yeah, just go start your own business. What you put in, what you get out. And there's so much, as behind the scenes that happens there that you have to take into consideration. So just learning that has also been just eye-opening and new for me. And I've really enjoyed it.
My personal soapbox is that entrepreneurship has been overly glamorized. How do you react to that comment?
I would have to agree. I think it's hard, but they seems like it's so easy, and you just hear it. It's oh, I just started this company and I had this great idea. And I don't feel like people talk about you don't talk about the little things, the unsexy things that go into what that means. And yeah, it's hard. And I completely agree with you on that.
It's really hard. I know when I teach various entrepreneur classes at local colleges and that, when you talk to the group of entrepreneurial students, you say, okay, what do you think's next for you? Oh, within 3 months, I'll close my first $1 million round. Have you come up with a prototype? And they, no. But I mean, it should be easy to get $1 million. And, I'll start making bank, within the first 6 months. And it's wow. We'll be a unicorn within 3 years. I'm okay, it's good to be ambitious and to dream big, but that may not be the reality.
Yeah, it's a fine line. You have to have that desire and, like you said, that ambition. You need to be able to come up with the idea and be passionate about it. If you're not excited about what you're working on, then you're not going to go anywhere either. But I think there's so much that goes into it that people don't talk about that you don't know. And to your point, have you looked into how much it's going to cost to get a prototype done? Even just little things like that, you're kind of it seems easy. We'll just do this and we'll just get that done. And, you don't realize everyone that you have to pay and all of the time that goes into that and how long it's going to take. And you really have to, think about all the things.
That's right. If it was easy, someone would have done it by now.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
All right. Now, I'm a journalist and we're working together and we're going to write the headline for Britt Woyma with you as an entrepreneur. What's the headline?
Woman ditches advertising for a better life. I don't
That's good. That's
Terrible
good. I like
headline.
it. I
No,
like it.
don't put that in there. um, um, oh gosh, I don't know. This is a hard one.
Yeah, well, it's not supposed to be all easy and fun, but we could, make it easy together. But I like where you're going with that. You're taking charge, right? You're taking your
Yes.
life back and pursuing what you're passionate about and what you want to do, and finding that balance that works for you, your 3 kids, and everything else.
Yeah, it's a funny thing when you come from, I think, the world that I live in. And I've talked to so many friends about this, especially, other women who, we're in this time in our career and we're all trying to figure out what's next for us. And our industry is so baked in what you're doing and how cool it is and the brands you're working on. So to take a leap out of that and go into something that maybe doesn't have the sexiest headline, but it's giving me just as much drive, if not more drive, is really what has been driving me. And the fact that I get to do all of this and, I have actual stake in the game. It's been, that's what I'm ultimately looking for at the end of the day. So it's been really, really nice. So maybe the headline can be, woman jump ship from advertising life just to find what's next.
Hey, it works, right? This isn't supposed to be easy. It's just supposed to be fun, though.
Yeah.
All right. Now, how can our audience help you, Britt?
Oh man. So spread the word. I think if you know of any emerging brands, or whether you're on the brand side of things or you're on the agency side of things or the distribution side of things, everyone wants those products to be able to be found. So, just spreading the word, and, there's kind of only a couple options out there right now. So we're really the disruptors in the industry, and we're just getting the name out there. And a lot of people we talk to are like, how come I haven't heard about you guys before? And I'm like, because we're brand new. So spreading that word. You can find more information about us on our website at wheretobuy.io. Yeah, that's about all right now.
Okay, well, we'll let people know. I mean, if you've got cool products, right, and you want customers to find your products, well, this is a good option for you.
Yes,
All
at
right.
an affordable price, I'll add.
Well, see, there you go, right? Affordability is important as a small business. All right, last
Yeah.
question. Now, this one really is fun. If we looked into your closet and there was a pair of shoes, boots, sneakers, something in there that personified your personality, describe that pair of shoes or whatever it is to us and why it's a fit for your personality.
Ooh. Okay, I'm actually going to go with one of the latest pair of shoes I got. They are some Nikes, just some sneakers. There's some plain white Air Force Ones, which was my first Air Force One, which apparently I'm not supposed to tell people because that's embarrassing. But I got them. So I think it personifies me because there's something extra about them. They have this extra little like small strap on the bottom that nobody would notice. So they're comfortable. They are not flashy, but they're like subtly cool, and they make sense. They're very make sense for wearing every day. So if I have to relate that, I would just kind of say I don't consider myself a flashy person. But I don't know. Maybe I'm comfortable and I like want to be cool. At least I want my kids to think I'm cool.
Well, there you go. I love that answer. That's perfect. So with that, we're going to wrap up here, the Grit Files. Thank you so much to Britt Woyma, co-founder of Where to Buy. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Don't forget to follow Grit Daily News as well as me, your host, Loralyn Mears, everywhere on social media. And how about throwing 4 or 5 stars our way if you're listening to Apple or Spotify? Subscribe to our show.
And how about that fantastic intro by Touch Circle?